So it looks like we really touched a nerve in our last video about AI music. So let's take a step back and ask a simple question. What is a musician? And I think the answer is hamburgers. Bear with me. When I want a hamburger, I go to a place that sells hamburgers. The first place, the guy takes a pre-cooked patty, drops it onto a bun, adds cheese, ketchup, tomato, puts it in a box, and hands it to me. In the second place, the guy fires up a grill, he takes ground meat and adds salt because he knows it will taste better, cooks it exactly how I ask, medium well, puts it in a bun with mayo, lettuce, tomato, and serves it on a plate with a pickle. In the third place, the guy wakes up at dawn, he bakes the buns himself, he buys the beef from a local butcher, he seasons the meat knowing how salt interacts with protein to change texture. He controls heat to caramelize the surface just right. Everything is intentional. He knows how things work and, more importantly, why. Heat, salt, texture, timing, nothing is accidental. He's not just following instructions. He's deliberately, intentionally controlling outcomes. In all three places, I asked for a hamburger, and I got one. So who among these three people is the chef? All three gave me more or less the same thing, right? I think there's a real argument to be made here about what a musician actually is. And if there's one defining characteristic, it's this. A musician must pay a price, a significant one, in service of music. I remember listening to Debussy's Clair de Lune when I was young. It was magic, transporting me to a place that nothing else could. And I felt the same way about In My Life. Completely different universes, same transcendent feeling. Or even Bach or Mozart or Bill Evans. The style didn't really matter. Music had the power to lift me out of the world. And like many of us, I decided, I want to learn how to do that. I want to play these magical things. I want control over this magic. What I didn't know was that the more I learned, the greater the sacrifice would become. When you play Clair de Lune for the first time with a good teacher playing it correctly, you suddenly realize all sorts of traits and characteristics. It's in 9/8, and the notes are not where you thought they were. Later on, as you get better, you realize that Debussy is constantly hiding the bar line with ties, and you start feeling the underlying grid and shaping it to highlight those hidden bar line illusions. You learn the harmony, the voicings, the gestures, the secrets that make the piece what it is, the secrets behind the magic. Slowly, you become the magician who understands exactly how the trick is done. And while the audience still sees pure magic, you don't. You see the mechanisms behind the illusion. And that destroys a huge part of the mystery that made you want to learn the piece to begin with. Yes, you do gain something else, the ability to perform the magic, and the joy of creating that moment for others. But the piece does lose the very thing that drew you to it, and that is the price you pay, the sacrifice we all make. Don't get me wrong, the piece is still beautiful, but it's not the same anymore. And it's not just Clair de Lune. It happens with every piece you learn or even compose. The more you explore, the more magic you lose. You start hearing the same harmonic progressions, same secondary dominants, chord extensions, metric modulations, the tools that reveal how the sausage is made. And the more of them you know, the fewer surprises remain. Even performing has its own sacrifice. Playing something live for the first time is also magical. But playing the same piece for 20 years, that is a sacrifice too. Of course, the better the music, the deeper the trick, the more joy you find in performing it for the 100th time. But still, it's not the same. Musicians often struggle to explain why certain pieces have more value than others. But one good measure is this. If you can play a piece 100 times and still find something in it, then yes, there is something extraordinary there. So yes, a musician is someone who pays the price, someone willing to give up personal magic so others can also experience it. But this raises a big question. Is knowing less a better path? Is ignorance actually bliss? Is it better to surprise yourself when you stumble into a new chord or write something unexpected? And even further, Is it even possible to stay ignorant when you really dedicate yourself to your craft? A lot of comments touched on this idea. Paul McCartney didn't know what a secondary dominant is. Knowing what a tritone substitution is, that's for elitists. So 2 things about this. First, knowing the term and knowing the concept are completely different things. Of course McCartney knows how to use secondary dominants. He uses them constantly. And whether he knows the name is really irrelevant. Terms are just shared language so musicians can talk to each other. Understanding the concept is the part that matters. And that comes from practice and immersion, not terminology and theory. Second, the idea that learning concepts somehow kills inspiration. That's either a convenient excuse to avoid developing your craft or fear. Fear of paying the sacrifice of seeing how the magic trick works. Because knowing how the trick works doesn't stop it from being beautiful. It just changes who the magic is for. And sure, some days I'm starving and only have 5 minutes to eat. So I stop by McDonald's and grab 2 cheeseburgers, no mustard, and a large fry. But I think we'd all agree that the person assembling those cheeseburgers isn't necessarily a chef.